Well, hello there, it's Dr. Jim. Thanks for taking a few minutes out of your busy day or your busy evening to tune in to what I've been thinking about. And as you know, I always think about CBD. I write about it a lot. I research it a lot. I wrote a whole book, Living Longer and Stronger with CBD, which you can get on Amazon.com. And in that book, I look at the research in a number of areas, health-related areas, CBD and its benefits for physical health conditions like arthritis, mental and emotional conditions like depression and anxiety, sleep disorders, neurodegenerative conditions, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, Huntington's. And I've also done research on the effects of CBD based on studies here in the US and around the world on obsessive-compulsive disorder, or OCD. So I wrote this pretty lengthy. I just went on and on writing this because there's so much to give you, so much information, but I'm going to give you the silver bullets during this video, but please, you can find the article online, download it, print it, share this video, especially if you know people who have OCD or who are helping people with OCD. So, a mental health condition known as obsessive-compulsive disorder, or OCD for short, has gained a lot of attention over the last couple decades. And guess what? We now believe it is far more common than we once believed. So that's a newer thought. Back in the day, whenever that day was, I just like to say that, back in the day, scientists, researchers, experts didn't know how common OCD was. Now we know it's very common. And while there are treatments ranging from very simple things like home remedies all the way to the other end of the spectrum, deep brain stimulation. Research on the effects of CBD on various parts of the brain, believed responsible for the disorder, is providing hope for a more natural way to manage symptoms and to improve the person's quality of life. And that's what I'm so hopeful for. Every effort that I give in doing research, writing, presenting, continuing education is to improve something somewhere, to improve how someone works, how someone thinks, how someone feels, to manage their symptoms, to have a better quality of life, and to enhance their well-being. As a gerontologist, that is what I live and work for. Let me give you some really specific diagnostic information here, clinical information about CBD or about OCD first. OCD affects men and women equally, as well as people of all ages, races, cultures. It's usually identified by parents or by teachers when kids are school age, high school, generally sometimes between the ages of 8 to 12 for some reason, and then later during their teen years and their early adulthood years. Although infrequent, it's been found that some people can be diagnosed after their mid-30s and early 40s, but that's really not so common. How many people have OCD? How many people do you think? 1 out of 1,000, 1 out of 500? Well, according to the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, 1.2% of all adults in the United States are affected by OCD within the past year. We're talking annual statistics. OCD currently affects 1 in every 40 adults. I did not think it was that common. It also affects 1 in every 100 children in the United States. What does that mean? Sometimes when we throw numbers out there, trillions of dollars, what does that mean? What does that look like? To put these numbers into perspective, That's the total population of Houston, Texas, or somewhere between 2 to 3 million people. Fill up the city of Houston, and you have the number of people with OCD in America. OCD and suicide. I have to be honest with you, I didn't know. I knew that anxiety is a major issue. I knew that depression is a major concern. Suicide, that wasn't something that I was thinking about. So although there are various levels, there's very mild OCD, there's moderate OCD, there's severe OCD, there's profoundly significant, life-altering OCD. So there are various levels. People can experience both suicidal thoughts and attempts to end their lives when OCD is impairing multiple areas of their life. So it can be very, very serious. OCD must be taken seriously. And I mean as a potentially fatal disorder. Maybe you have not heard those words put together, but that's why I'm filming this video. That's why I wrote this article. OCD, is it a fatal disorder? It can be. Not too many people have come out and said that, though. Suicidal thoughts occur in roughly 50% of people with OCD, and suicidal attempts are reported in 25%. Those numbers are far too high. I'm shocked, and I'm ashamed that I didn't know this earlier in my career. Men are more likely to have early onset symptoms as well as co-occurring disorders like depression, anxiety, and self-medication, substance use, substance abuse. Call it what you will. Now, if you know what the DSM is, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, it's a psychiatric Bible. Editions ago, OCD was a disorder listed in the anxiety chapter. Okay? Today, and just a few years ago when the new DSM revised edition was published, OCD now is its own condition. It doesn't live in the anxiety chapter, and that makes a difference, and I'll tell you why. While OCD was once categorized as an anxiety disorder, it now has its very own chapter in the latest edition of the DSM, and that chapter is entitled Obsessive-Compulsive and Related Disorders. And here are the disorders in that chapter. Obviously, to begin with, OCD. Then we have body dysmorphic disorder, hoarding disorder, trichotillomania, hair pulling disorder, excoriation, skin picking, ripping scabs off, that type of disorder, substance medication-induced OCD and related disorders, OCD and related disorders due to a general medical condition. There's an underlying medical, biological, neurological condition that's causing this disorder. And then we always have, just about in every chapter, unspecified, which means I don't know where this is coming from. I don't have a full picture of how this is occurring. So let's talk about the two hallmarks of OCD, obsessions and compulsions. Obsessions are uncontrollable thoughts. Can't get these things out of my head. They are urges, they're mental images, and they cause a lot of distress and a lot of anxiety. Thoughts like being dirty, or being surrounded by germs, or contamination, or terrible thoughts that are taboo or forbidden about sex, harm, religion, aggressive thoughts towards other people, or just thinking about putting everything in order. I have to have order. I have to have symmetry. Those are obsessions. Compulsions, on the other hand, are the actions. They're the behaviors that people do in order to reduce the anxiety of their obsessions. I have to act on these thoughts in order for these thoughts and for the stress to go away from my life. So they're repetitive behaviors, though, and they're based on obsessive thoughts. The goal of compulsive behaviors is to eliminate or neutralize these pervasive thoughts. And here are some examples of common compulsions: excessive hand washing, excessive cleaning, checking and rechecking. Did I turn the stove off? Did I turn the stove off? Did I shut the door? Did I lock the door? Ordering and arranging things in very specific manners, lining everything up, and compulsively counting things over and over again. Now, OCD for some individuals will also involve tics. T-I-C-S, tics. Some people with OCD will develop tics, which are sudden, brief, and repetitive movements or physical experiences. These include things like eye blinking, facial grimacing, shoulder shrugging, and jerking movements of the head and of the shoulders. There are also vocal tics, which include repetitive throat clearing, grunting sounds, and sniffing. And besides tics, individuals with OCD may develop other co-occurring, we used to call that comorbid, co-occurring conditions like depression, anxiety disorders. Eating disorders are common, unfortunately. Even psychotic disorders can develop and be a part of the clinical picture of individuals with OCD. Even a personality disorder, and that's something I have not gotten into yet, but I think I should. Email me, jim@collinslearning.com, if you'd really like me to get into the personality disorders, because those are quite controversial. Yes, they live in the DSM, and yes, they are controversial. And maybe that could be my theme, the controversy behind these things. But anyway, from what we know, a personality disorder called obsessive-compulsive personality disorder may also co-occur with obsessive-compulsive disorder. Risk factors. Some people will develop obsessive-compulsive disorder because of their family genetics, especially parents who had OCD, but specifically in their early childhood or their early teens. Brain function and structure are both risk factors, particularly changes in the frontal cortex and subcortical structures of the brain. So there's some anatomy involved in OCD. Children who were exposed to very terrible and traumatic events also run the risk of developing OCD. Child abuse, sexual assault, violence. Now, there are traditional treatments. I'll go through these very quickly. People with OCD can get help. They can be prescribed antidepressants, antipsychotic medications. They can obviously get all the education and information about their disorder, learn about it to avoid triggers. Counseling, support groups, exercise, healthy eating, effective coping styles, stress management techniques, outpatient or inpatient treatment if OCD is severe enough, and day programs, partial hospitalization, deep brain stimulation is now being used, as is electroconvulsive therapy or ECT. The point of any of these treatments, what is it? Minimize the effects of OCD on the person's personal life and their occupational life. These treatments are meant to manage symptoms and to maintain a healthy and well-balanced life, to improve well-being. let's get to CBD now. Research findings on CBD for OCD. The very first piece of research that I could share with you are the articles and the studies on anxiety, specifically anxiety. And studies have been going on since 2004, believe it or not, on OCD and how CBD can help. That's shocking. It was then, back in 2004, that researchers in Brazil discovered that CBD decreased OCD-related stress and anxiety. That's a good thing. The anxiolytic or anti-anxiety effects of CBD were mediated by action on both the limbic, remember in the beginning of the video or article if you're reading it, in both the limbic and paralimbic systems of the brain. CBD is doing its work in those areas of the brain. And what are those areas regulating? We said emotion, arousal, stimulation, memory, learning, and motivation. Now, CBD also has anti-compulsive effects. More studies later revealed that CBD also has anti-compulsive qualities, as well as the ability to reduce panic and social anxiety and symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, which may accompany OCD. While the studies did involve mice, and they are our research friends, and our anatomy is very close to theirs, scientists believe that the same effects can be applied to humans. Beyond that, anxiety, anti-compulsive effects, the endocannabinoid system, and OCD. What is that connection, according to research? CBD can be thought of as the key that unlocks the endocannabinoid system's ability to naturally heal the body, to bring homeostasis to our symptoms, to bring balance back, allowing it to perform a biochemical balancing act with other systems of the body and our brain. Specifically, scientists discovered CBD's impact via the endocannabinoid system with the cortico-striato-thalamo-cortical circuit, which is the CSTC circuit, and it's believed that dysfunction in that circuit is specifically related and associated with OCD. There you have it. It went kind of long, but I think it's an important topic. Why? Because more people have OCD than we've ever thought before. And because now there's research that CBD can be an all-natural, alternative form of medicine for people to manage their symptoms and to balance their life. That's why it's important. I'm Dr. Jim. Please stay in touch. Email me. I love to get emails. I check it 24/7. Every day of the year. Jim@collinslearning.com. You can check out what we're doing at my companies online, collinslearning.com, ceu.academy, and of course my blog, drjimcollins.com. Take care, keep coming back for more information, and to see what's on my mind. Thank you for watching the video, and I'd like to show you my new book, Living Longer and Stronger with CBD. Took me about a year and a half to write as I scanned hundreds of articles in prestigious journals, peer-reviewed medical studies, examining the effects of CBD for various physical conditions, emotional and mental issues, and neurodegenerative conditions. And I condensed all of those findings into one book. I believe that there's something in here for everyone. So if you're interested, follow the link to the book on Amazon. Thank you so much.